So there are a number of problems or issues that we look for when someone is arrested for an OUI. For example, if the police did not have a legally sufficient reason to stop your car, then your whole case could be dismissed. The prosecution may also think they have a strong case based on your driving. For example, there may be allegations that you were speeding or swerving or using improper signals, that you had some sort of delayed reaction to police turning on their lights, or there could be allegations that you were involved in an accident. However, what I bring up in cross-examination is the things that you did right, and that I can usually get the officer to admit to some or most of them. If the prosecution argues that your driving suggested impairment based on 2 or 3 factors, what I can do is I can show 10 or 15 other factors that the police were trained to look for in an OUI investigation. And what I can point out to the jury is that you did all of those things, all of those other things, those 10 or 15 other things right. And this usually casts pretty serious doubt on a prosecution's case. And even if there are 2 or 3 minor traffic violations, I can usually show them to be just that, minor traffic violations that don't have anything to do with actually being under the influence. People get pulled over all the time for minor infractions, and most of the people who get pulled over aren't under the influence. Even traffic infractions like swerving or driving over the yellow line, which is called a marked lanes violation in Massachusetts, can be caused by other distractions like turning your radio dial, or you're adjusting your GPS, or talking on your cell phone, or even texting. You might be a distracted driver, but that doesn't mean that you're impaired by drugs or alcohol. I routinely cross-examine officers at trial and get them to admit to other possible factors for their observations that they initially attribute to intoxication. For example, I can't count the number of times that a police officer says in their report that he or she believed the person was intoxicated because of quote unquote red or bloodshot or glassy eyes. I think that most of us have red, bloodshot, or glassy eyes after midnight, and most of the time, the officer never asks a person about red eyes. They also never ask about allergies or lack of sleep or long work hours or long periods of driving or any other number of factors that could be attributed to having red eyes. The same goes for other observations of intoxication that are made by an officer, such as the odor of alcohol, slurred speech, or nervousness. All of these factors don't necessarily mean that you're under the influence, and I have found that police officers, not only do they ask the wrong questions a lot of times when they're questioning somebody at the roadside, but more importantly, they fail to ask the right questions of people who they suspect of OUI. And so when I cross-examine officers about these observations, I'm very good at creating reasonable doubt by pointing out the questions that they failed to ask, which often leads to a not guilty verdict.